Really great to be back here. We're really excited about getting back to practice, getting started with this team. Obviously, we have a lot of tremendous challenges facing us this year, and if you're a competitor, you certainly look forward to those challenges, and I think the team is excited. We had really good work in the off-season, the summer conditioning program. The guys did a good job on the, testing. There was a tester out there today a little bit in terms of the weather, but the guys, fought through it pretty well, and we got a lot of good work done. But there's a lot of tremendous challenges that face, every team at this point. Some of it comes from the people you play, because we play some really, really good teams this year, and starting with the first game when we play USC. But the challenges also come from, ourselves, from us. When we have a critical mass of players that buy into the team, the principles and values of the team, make good choices and decisions relative to, the team, the rules of the team, we seem like we've done pretty well in the past. And when we have lots of people preoccupied with, other things like how much they're going to play or who their agent's going to be next year or whatever, we don't seem to do nearly as well. And I think everybody needs to, buy into the things that are going to help them play the absolute best football on our team, to create an identity for this team, because what we've done in the past obviously is not going to help us. So the discipline, the attention to detail, the energy, the focus that we can maintain are all going to be things that, are going to help us execute and play, better, when the season comes. And I think that's the challenge that we have as coaches and as players, to work together so that we can accomplish that and get every player playing to the best of his ability. We have these first 2 days, just in helmets, which I think is a great idea to get these guys acclimated. Then we have 2 days in just shoulder pads and helmets, which I think is also a very good idea. And then we can get in pads. So, we actually have some guys here that were not cleared to actually practice, but they can be here for rehab. Richie Pettibone, Ronnie Clark, Sean Jennings, Nigel Knott, all guys that had off-season surgeries and injuries, and I think you're all aware of what they are. Those guys will not be able to participate probably until school starts, but we'll manage their rehab on an individual basis, and when they're ready to get into football, we'll sort of, step them into it as they can. I know there's a lot of talk out there and interest about the Maurice Smith deal. And look, I'm going to say the same thing that I said at the SEC Media Day. Nothing has changed. We support the SEC rule, all right, of not granting guys releases to go to other SEC schools. And it has been our policy here not to do that unless there was a special circumstance. All right, we released a statement today, all right, that talked about the special circumstances surrounding another player, which was an exception, not the rule. And I am not going to discuss this any further. Maurice did a great job for us around here. We want to help him every way that we can, and he has opportunities to go other places outside the league, and we are supporting him and helping him to do that. So that's all we can say about that. Alphonse Taylor has gone through a program, pretty significant program, pretty intense program, and we have cleared him to practice. But we have not made a decision, and it will be based on what he does and how he does it as to whether that suspension that he had will be lifted when the games come. All right, and I'm not ready to make that decision right now, and I don't think we have all the information we need to have to be able to make that decision. Dalen Charlotte, fine young man, did a great job here, made a tremendous amount of improvement. I think that, a lot of young guys right now, they get really, really fearful of their future, and it creates a lot of anxiety. And they think if they change environments, that's going to help solve that anxiety and help them be able to get where they want to go. And, we certainly feel like we can help guys develop here, but if they think that there's a better way for them another place, then we're going to support them in every way that we can to help them do the things that they would like to do if they don't want to be, in our program here.
Okay, guys, we'll start in the back with Cecil.
Coach, at what point, I mean, I know you can't put a day on it, but at what point do you want to start seeing the quarterbacks separate themselves in terms of what kind of reps you give them?
Well, to me, it's sooner the better. I mean, I think, David Cornwell has been fighting a little bit of a foot injury, so he hasn't been able to do everything all summer long. He's been kind of off and on, and he had limited reps today. But I think all three of the other guys have made significant progress throughout the summer. Somebody has got to win the job. Somebody has got to become the leader, the guy that can go out there and execute and win the confidence of his teammates and the players that he plays with on offense. And I think we have three guys that are all capable of doing that. I would love it if one of them separate themselves sooner rather than later. But as I've said before, I don't think this is something that you can force to happen, because if you try to do that, you put a guy in there, it doesn't work, you got to make changes. So you create more controversy, I think, sometimes doing that than just kind of letting it happen than trying to force it to happen.
Back up front with Mark.
You talked a little bit about young players worrying about their futures. Is that a conversation you have with some of the young guys who maybe didn't play a lot their first or second year, or how do you address that with them?
Well, what I try to emphasize with our players is, there's so much emphasis now on outcomes, immediate self-gratification. And football is a developmental game. You've heard me talk about this many times before, where people develop and improve. And what I always try to sell our players on, some of them play when they're freshmen, some of them play really well, some of them aren't ready to play, some of them play a role, which we had, 4 guys that were starters in some role last year, and probably 10 or 11 guys that lettered last year playing on special teams, which is about half the guys that we recruited. And some guys, need the time to develop and learn and grow, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, learning the system. But I think sometimes there's unrealistic expectations placed on guys, based on their reputation that they create in high school, and sometimes the people around them want that same immediate self-gratification, which puts a lot of pressure on guys, which creates a lot of anxiety. But what we try to emphasize with our players here is focus on development. Trust and believe in doing the things that we're going to try to help you do to develop to be the best player you can be. And that's all anybody can expect from anybody. And everybody ought to get a lot of positive self-gratification, from that. But when we worry about outcomes, and I want to play in the NFL someday, and if I didn't start as a freshman, maybe I won't do that. And we got people outside telling us those kinds of things. It makes it really, really difficult for these guys, and it's really unfair in a lot of ways to them because they don't have a chance to develop and become the kind of players in sort of a normal fashion because of the external factors that seem to be placed on them in a lot of cases. A lot of other guys, doesn't bother. They go out there, they understand, they get it, and they go to work and work hard, and they usually make good progress. And Dalen made really good progress here. I just wish he would have had a little more patience to hang in there, and I think he would have been a great contributor here, and I think he'll have a good career wherever he chooses to go.
Far side with Matt.
Nick, I have to ask, in your opinion, is there any chance that Maurice ends up at Georgia and is eligible to play this
I
year?
already talked about that. I mean, you want me to do a Belichick on you? But what did I just say?
It was a different question. Like I said, I had to ask. So.
Well, I already answered it. Nothing has changed. So now you're asking me a hypothetical question, what if? I got enough issues and problems here without any what ifs. So we just had a media person in yesterday, and she said, never answer a what if. So do I need to do a media thing with you guys, not to ask what ifs?
Well, as far as the quarterbacks, do you have anything in mind as far as the workload and how you're planning on dividing reps throughout camp? Do you have a guy that you think is going to have the majority of reps early on, or do you think guys are going to split that equally? early on in camp?
Well, we have a plan for how we're going to do it. I mean, we just don't go out there and throw the ball out every day, and whoever runs in there first gets to go. I mean, every period, you know, we know who the quarterback's going to be, who's going with the first team, who's going with the second team, who's going with the third team, and how we're rotating. It's really, really well organized. I mean, I'm really impressed with how we do that on offense. So we do have a plan,
Back up front here with Dwayne.
and it changes every day.
Coach, in regards to Cam Robinson and Hootie, what's the process in them going through camp? And I know you obviously got to make a decision in regards to those two. So what's that about?
Those guys have done everything that they're supposed to do, and if they continue to do that, I feel like, you know, they've done a good job, and I don't, unless there's other issues that come up, I don't know that any kind of further punishment is going to help their behavior. I think they learned their lesson, and I think when the facts came out, things were not what they seemed to be, and I'm not going to comment on that anymore either.
Go over here to Michael on this side. A couple more.
Ask about Bo Scarborough. Like, he was banged up a little bit today. How's he doing? How's the running back depth?
He
look?
was just struggling a little bit early with cramps. You know, I think, again, you know, some of these guys get so anxious before they go out there, but he actually, you know, got over it and went through practice and did a pretty good job after he got going and got started and got loosened up. So he was fine.
Last one here with Alex.
I was just going to ask if there's any update on Tony Brown's situation and if you've heard anything from the NCAA this summer to progress that.
We're sort of having a work in progress with the NCAA, and at some point in time they'll you know, give us a decision based on what they feel is, you know, fair punishment for him or whatever. And when that time comes, we'll let you know. But you know, we're preparing for the season as if he's going to be suspended for several games.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys, thank you.